We're going to look at lesson 4, shapes and parameters in code.org. So our very first activity for lesson 4 is a prediction. So we have a couple new blocks here. We have the same rectangle block, but you notice we added 2 extra areas here. We actually call those parameters. I talk about that right up here. And basically what parameters are is it allows us to pass information or details about something to the program. So for this one, the rectangle is going to be 100, 100. We know those are the X and Y location. But then the next two we're really not sure about. And so what we want to do is kind of predict what these next two are going to be. Well, if we think about a shape, a rectangle, a square, you know, we obviously want to know the location of it, but we also want to know like the dimensions of it. And so this could definitely be height and width. It could be width and height. But these definitely would be relevant things that could be what we would see from a rectangle is the height and the width. So that's what I'm going to say here is this could be the height and the width. The new parameters. Goodness. We'll go with height and width. Okay. And so that's probably what's going to end up happening here. And if I hit run and look at that. Now, if I wanted to change these, the blue one right here is 100 by 200. Let's just, oh, it won't let me change it. I would imagine if I changed this and added more to it, it would change it. Now, it could be that this is the width and the height, but we'll kind of see that in the next activity and see what these are. But looks like these are height and width. Okay, hopefully that helps you a little bit with your coding knowledge. All right, so let's take a look at lesson 4, activity 2, shapes and parameters. So this activity, we have 2 different shapes, blue and red, and notice from the first activity we had a prediction of what the new parameters are, and they are width and height. So the 2 new parameters, as I say here, width and height, and this is what this block is going to look like. So what we want to do is actually adjust these so that it looks like this over here. And currently the way they're set up is the blue is actually longer than the red. We want the red to end up being longer than the blue. Okay, so we need to adjust those a little bit. So if we look along here for the blue, it's 100, 100, so this is where it starts. So we really don't need to affect these 2 parameters, but the other 2 we might. But it looks like if we compare these 2 that really the blue we really haven't changed at all. Now we could, and if we wanted to do that we could change it. You know, if I wanted to make this 100 just to show you here, we're going to shorten up the blue, see how that gets shorter in length or in height. But we're going to leave that 200. And now we're going to actually affect the red. So again, we don't need to change these 2. And actually it gives us a little bit of a hint right here to change the numbers in the second one to make the red longer than the blue one. So really that's all we need to change is the red. So it's 150 right now. If we made it 200, it would be the same length as these 2. But let's make this 250. Let's just see what that does. So now our blue is this and our red, and it looks like those are the same thing. Okay, so that should solve our problem for activity 2, and now our shapes are the way they need to be. Hopefully this helps you with your coding, and good luck. So let's take a look at activity 3 from lesson 4. Now in this activity we're actually going to look at ellipses, and we add 2 new parameters to this as well. So if you notice down in the rectangle options down here we have width and height. And now for ellipse, we're going to have width and height as well. So we've added 2 new parameters to this, 2 new pieces of information that can help our program write and create these shapes. Now we have the green right here. So if we look at this and we run it, looks like the green is the way we need it to be. Oh, not sure what happened there. So here's the green. And however, if you notice, we're going to have a new shape. Now we could just start drawing it right here, and it looks like it's going to be yellow. But as we've talked about in previous lessons, sequencing, if we were to draw the green first and then do the yellow and make the yellow this size, it's going to actually go over top of that, and the green's going to disappear. The yellow is going to be over top of it. So because of sequencing, we're going to actually put yellow ahead of that. And then we're going to go ahead and put an ellipse here underneath it. And so we have the location correct. Looks like that's what we need to do, is right in the middle of the screen, just 200, 200, so it's the same as what that is. But now we need to affect the size and change it a little bit, because 400, 400 would actually make this the entire screen. If I were to run this, it's pretty much the entire screen. And actually, it's orange and not yellow, so let's go ahead and change that. So we're going to go ahead and type that in. Okay, and let's go ahead and run that here for a second. Yep, that's a little better. So we do need to change these two right here. This is a little bit too big. So let's try, and we need it kind of a unique shape too, where we want it to be a little bit less wide than it is high. So let's try like 300 and 350. And let's go ahead and run that. That's pretty close. And so I feel like the height is probably correct. Let's go ahead and change the width and make that a little bit more narrow here. There we go. That looks correct to me. So that's the width is 250 and the height is 350. You don't have to do anything with the green. You just have to change the orange. And that should be it for you for activity 3. Hopefully this helps you. Again, we're talking about parameters, and these 2 new parameters for ellipse. We'll be using those quite a bit. But I hope this helps you with your coding journey. All right, so for activity 4, lesson 4, shapes and parameters, this is we're dealing with backgrounds, and we're going to deal with sequencing again, because now what we're going to do is add a background in. And we'll just kind of read through the directions here a second with you. So sometimes you want to fill the entire screen with a color. For that, you can use the background. So basically, when we ever see background on here, it will fill the entire screen. It says run the code, see background work. Change the background from yellow to orange. So that's pretty simple. See our background right here. We can do that pretty quickly. But see how we have this yellow. We'll change it to orange. And if we did that, oops, might help if I spelled it correctly. There we go. So now our background is orange. We have a blue square. It does say challenge. There's a purple square that's covered up by the background. Can you change the order of this code so you can see the purple and blue squares? So this gets back to the whole sequencing thing again that we've talked about before. Our code runs, it fills in the purple. Here's a rectangle, so it made a purple rectangle. However, because I put our background on here, it actually covered that up, and our background is not visible right now. So let's go ahead and we'll move our background to the top. So we draw the background first, then it will do the purple shape and the blue shape, and then you'll see these on here. So if we run this, there's our purple square that we wanted. So this is really big in programming, is sequencing. Please make sure you kind of take note of that. Depending on where you have this background, that we'll use quite a bit from now on, is, you know, wherever these are at, they will cover up anything. So if you have a shape above them, it can potentially cover up your shape depending on how you're using it. Hopefully that helps you, and good luck with your coding. Okay, for activity 5 of lesson 4, shapes and parameters. So this one we're just going to add a background here. It says the background will draw on top of anything already, and so it's important to think about the order of your code. That gets to that sequencing again, in the sequence of your code and the order of how things are working. Make a black background behind the green circle, drag out the black background, and add a background to your code. So pretty straightforward. We're just going to drag this out. Now if I dragged it down here, we're just going to do this as an example, and we want this to be black, so it matches that. Interesting. Let's try that again. Drag the black out there and run it. See how it covered that up? Now if I move this up to the top of this and run this, there you go. So that's how you make that background with this. Is just pretty straightforward. Put the background, make sure you place it first so that it'll draw the background, then it will draw your shape in that location. And that should be this activity for you. Good luck. Right, welcome back. So lesson 4, activity 6, now we're gonna take, if you know, we're just gonna debug this. So debugging means that our program's not correct and we need to fix something. And we need to figure out what that error is. So if we look at our code here, it looks like our sky is correct. Looks like our sun is correct in the right place. And it does kind of tell you down here too, We need to extend the grass along the entire bottom, and it looks like that it's about the correct height. If I drag this down here a little bit, looks like this is the correct height here for this. But if we notice, our grass only extends a certain distance, and so looks like it goes about halfway to 200. And so what we want to do is actually make this a wider. So let's go ahead and make this 400. Let's move this up a little bit and make that 400, so that now when we run this, it extends all the way across the bottom. We're just changing the width of the shape. It only extended halfway across. Everything else looks correct, and so that should be the solution for this. Good luck on your coding. All right, so this is activity 7. They give you 3 options here. We're going to go ahead and just click on the hidden shapes one and try hidden shapes. And I'm just going to walk you through this one. All right, so if we click on this, again, this is a debugging, so they give you most of the code. We just need to figure out what's wrong with the code. So it says the code below should be making a pretty picture, but right now only one ellipse is showing up. Debug the code so that the picture shows on the right. You do not need to add any new code. So if we run this, we notice that the red is showing up, but the other colors are here. They're just showing up underneath it. Well, if we look at this code, it does orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, red. But notice red's the last one, and it's the largest one. This is the width and height, right? And so this 400 is larger than this, so this is covering all these up. So a simple solution for us should be just to move the red to the top. And if we run that, it should make a red, which is the biggest, and then orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. So we don't need to change any of this code. We just need to change the order of the way things are showing up on the screen. So if we reset this now, and there's our picture. Okay, so that should be the solution for that one for you. That was pretty straightforward. Just kind of watch the order of the way the things are being placed on the screen. Good luck. Hope this helps. All right, let's take a look at activity 7, but this time we're looking at missing shapes. So this one's a little bit more complicated than the other activity. So it says when the code is run, nothing shows up. Try to debug the code so the image on the right appears. Well, if we look at the code, and it says you don't need to add any new blocks here for your code, so that's something to consider too. But we do need to fix the parameters. So if we look, here's this, but when we run it right now, nothing shows up here. Well, if we look here, we notice that this is 500. This is actually, if we show the grid, this only goes to 400, 400. So this is off the screen. 500 means it's not on the screen anywhere, so it's not going to be visible. So we do need to change these for sure, but we're also going to need to change these. If I just change this, and notice if we look at these, it looks like you're going to have one, and then you're going to kind of slide over a little bit, and then slide over a little bit, and so on. So if we did change these, and we changed them just like this, let's just see what that does for a second. I think there's one more here. Yeah, let's get rid of that. If I run this, okay, so we're close, but see how they're all set to 50, and so they're all going here. So let's affect this a little bit. And just how we did this, we added 10 to each of these because we figure that we're going to kind of move to the right a little bit and then down also. So we moved to the right, and that's kind of what's happened here is they're all been drawn out. But now we need to kind of change these. So the first one I think is correct. Let's kind of do the second one and do 60. And we're just going to kind of move these down a little bit so that they'll kind of be in a stacked way. So let's do 100. And if we run that, that's what we're looking for. So we kind of are starting here, and then the next one's right here, and then the next one's here, and here, and here, and so on. So that's kind of how you set these up. This can be a little confusing, but I hope that helps you with this. This one can be a little difficult because you're affecting both parameters, and you just kind of have to figure out the pattern that's going on there. hopefully that helps you with your code. Good luck.